Radio Moscow World Service is now adding frequencies in the 49-meter band shortwaves and others in the medium waves. At 21 hours UTC, you can hear us in the 16, 19, 22, 25, 31, 41, and 49-meter bands. Listeners in Europe can receive us on 194, 201, 210, 216, 227, 247, 256, 262, and 321 meters in the medium waves.
This is Radio Moscow World Service. The news, read by Maria Dudina. First, the headlines. The Soviet Foreign Minister, Eduard Shevardnadze, is arriving in New York for the United Nations General Assembly special session on disarmament. The official celebrations of the millennium of the introduction of Christianity in Russia have begun in Moscow. And a 3-day strike of protest against American Secretary of State George Shultz's visit to the Middle East has ended in the Israeli-occupied Arab territories. The Soviet Foreign Minister, Eduard Shevardnadze, is arriving in New York for the United Nations General Assembly's special disarmament session. The Soviet Union and other socialist countries have been pressing for concrete and effective moves towards the objective. In a joint memorandum last Friday, a Warsaw Treaty delegation suggested the special session stimulate all the corresponding talks, both bilateral and multilateral. It's noted in the document that the Soviet-American INF Treaty that's come into force confirms the possibility of bringing about nuclear disarmament and building a nuclear-free and non-violent world. The director of the Soviet Institute of World Economics and International Relations has spoken highly about the recent Soviet-American summit in Moscow. In an interview with Soviet national television, Dr. Yevgeny Primakov noted that the significance of the summit, the fourth of the kind, consisted not only in the ratification of the INF Treaty or the movement towards more agreements. It's important, Dr. Primakov said, that there have been signs of a continuous dialogue and the discussions have been growing more constructive. He also described as a far-reaching result of the Moscow summit the fact that with the development of the Soviet-American dialogue, public opinion in the West was visibly changing in favor of the Soviet Union. The West increasingly understands the significance of the restructuring and democratization in the Soviet Union and its active and consistent foreign policy of peace. The official celebrations of the millennium of the introduction of Christianity in Russia have begun in Moscow with a liturgy at the Patriarchal Cathedral of the Epiphany. The divine service attracted thousands of worshippers and guests. The Russian Orthodox Church and its head, Patriarch Pimen, were welcomed on behalf of the Christian churches in other countries by the Patriarch of the Holy City of Jerusalem and all Palestine, Diodore, and the Pope and Patriarch of Alexandria and all Africa, Shenouda. Patriarch Pimen said the Russian Orthodox Church had continued to wish its children to follow the way of spiritual perfection. He pointed out that the Church prayed for the whole nation, for the good of the whole of the homeland, and for the creation of a lasting and fair peace for the whole of the human race. A 3-day Palestinian general strike has ended in the Israeli-occupied territories. The strike was in protest against the United States Secretary of State George Shultz paying a visit to the Middle East. Mr. Shultz is trying to push a plan for settling the situation in the region. The plan has won no support in the Arab world because it provides for a curtailed autonomy for the Palestinian Arabs rather than the right to self-determination, as the United Nations has proclaimed. The Prime Minister of India, Rajiv Gandhi, said the Geneva Accords on Afghanistan laid the foundation for restoring peace and normal life in the country. Speaking at Damascus at a dinner given in his honor by President Hafiz Assad of Syria, he said the hopes of the Afghan people would be realized provided there was a stop to any foreign interference in the affairs of that country. In France, the first round of elections was held to the National Assembly, the lower house of Parliament. The greatest sensation was low voter turnout. About a third of all who have a right to vote did not come to the polling stations. According to computer forecasts, President Francois Mitterrand's Socialist Party has come first. But its advantage over the right-wing parties is much less than was expected when Mitterrand won the recent presidential elections. The Communists got fewer seats, though they received many votes. The ultra-right-wing National Front suffered a staggering defeat. In line with the French electoral system, the final makeup of the lower house of Parliament will become known only after the second round on June 12th. At the invitation of the Presidium of the Soviet National Parliament, President Ramaswamy Venkataraman of India is to arrive in the Soviet Union on an official visit of friendship in the first half of next month. During his visit, President Venkataraman will take part in the ceremony of closing the National Festival of India in the USSR. This news comes to you in the World Service of Radio Moscow. In an interview with Soviet National Television, one of the leaders of the Institute of Economics of the World Socialist System, Yevgeny Ambertsumov, said a platform for discussion published by